Hello and welcome to importing your videos using Adobe Lightroom. And we're going to actually start off by checking out some things first. We're going to learn different ways for taking the photos either off of a card or off your hard drive and all that kind of thing. But first we need to make sure that things are set the way we want. So we're going to go up to Lightroom and pick Preferences. When you get here, you'll see that in this section here, ignore camera-generated folder names when naming folders, treat JPEG files next to RAW files as separate photos, and replace embedded previews with standard previews during idle time. All different things in here. You can change all of your settings if you wish. This is what I prefer, especially I like my JPEG files with the RAW files. I don't like them separate. And so we will close this, but you should just know that those settings exist. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my card in here. It's a card from actually something that my son was working on. And you will notice that in Lightroom, sometimes when you put a card in, you don't immediately, it doesn't immediately jump to it. Okay? So that's totally fine. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. There's several ways to get to the import module. You can go up to File and say Import Photos and Video. But most of the time, I click this button down here. There it is. Good. Now, if you get this small version of the import window, that's fine if it's totally set the way you like and you can make your changes in here, just a couple of changes, go for it. Most people though click on this button right here and we have the large version. You will notice under source right here that it has automatically picked the card that's in there. If there's no card though, then you're going to need to pick one of the sources. Very handy. If you click up here, you'll notice that there's a bunch of recent places and you can pick desktop, pictures, movies, etc. All that kind of thing. It's quite handy. Right? Or you can weave your way all the way through the hard drive to where you want. Okay? A little bit frustrating to tell you the truth, especially since the easiest way is to drag and drop. So, for instance, if I go to the Finder and I go to my desktop and here's the Lightroom lessons right here. I'm just going to pick lesson 3 just because, well, I think we're on lesson 3. Drag it down to here and let go. Boom! It's gone there automatically. Oh, hey, you'll notice that none of them are highlighted. Why? Well, that's because I already have them in my catalog. If I clicked on lesson 4, there you go. See? And everything is automatically checked. What would happen if I only wanted some of them? Well, I would say uncheck all. I'd click on the ones I want, hold down the Command key in order to pick different ones. Or, if you want, hold down the Shift key and it picks everything in between. All I need to do is just click on one and boom, they are all selected. Isn't that handy? Let's go back to the card right here that we've put in. You will notice up at the top, see how it says copy as DNG and then there's copy? There's move and there's add. And if I'm clicking on both of them and it's not letting me go there, right? And I'll explain the reason why in a second. What we want though is you'll notice that the files in here are CR2. These are raw files. So with raw files, you want to pick copy as DNG. And I'm not going to get into why that is. You can look it up if you'd like later, but I highly suggest for any raw files that you're copying, copy as DNG. If you were shooting in JPEG, however, I would say copy. You don't want to copy them as DNG. Just hit copy. So we're going to go copy as DNG, and I'm going to pick just a couple of pictures right here and select them. Boom. What if I want to take a look at individual files? Well, you'll notice down here you've got the two methods of seeing. So if I click on this, now I can use my arrows to go through all these different files. And I can go back to the grid mode if I want. Notice it's the letter G. And go into loop mode, it's the letter E. So I can flip back and forth between those two. You'll also notice along the bottom here that you can change the method of sorting. So right now it's set for capture time. You can change it to anything really they want. Check state, file name, file type, media type. Most of the time I go with capture time, but I mean if you went with check state, it would mean that anything that's checked goes there. Like if I pick that one, it jumps up. So that can be kind of handy. Or if you want to go with file name, depending on the way that they're labeled, and media type, file type, all that kind of stuff. You can also change the thumbnails. Right here, you can change the size so I can take a good look at them, and make them small so I can see everything that's on here. Let's take a look at file handling. One thing to note before we take a look over here on the right hand side is that you may not see everything that is that I have on my screen for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you're not in copy as DNG, if you're in add, so I'll go over here a little lesson 1. If you're in add, you'll notice that there's some items that are missing. That's the reason why, is because when you add, you're not actually changing where the files are. You're not making any copies of them or anything like that. So it's not going to allow you to rename. It's not going to need a source, anything like that. Adding basically means, hey, they're on the hard drive already, and I just want to add them to my catalog. So that's why you've got some things that are not in the copy mode right here. Copy as DNG, it means that you're going to take it off of the card or the spot where it is, its source, and you're going to copy them into a new place. If you say as DNG, it converts it from being a raw file into a digital negative, Adobe Digital Negative. Copy means it's copying it off of the card or the folder or wherever your source is, and it doesn't make a new copy as a DNG. It just keeps it as the JPEG or whatever it is that the original file was. Not going to deal with move at the moment. Hardly anybody does it. It's basically you're moving it from one place to another. All right. Now, what happens though if you're in copy and you can't find all of these items? Well, if you control click on this area, you'll notice that there are different options here. For instance, I can turn off file handling, and now it's gone. Bring it back. If you don't see what you want, make sure that you go and you pick show all. So let me just show you there. It's pick show all. Boom. Now you have everything that you need. Now let's take a look at the items here on the right hand side. I want to make sure that you are on the EOS digital on the card, and we're going to take a look at file handling up here in the top right. So you can open this up. Build previews is the first thing that you see, and you've got all the different types of previews that you might want. I go with 1-to-1 ratio because it's the best quality of preview. But if you're concerned about filling up your hard drive and that kind of thing, you might want to go with standard or minimal. Build Smart Previews is actually for using a server. So for instance, if you import in your stuff or your pictures and you've got it saved on a server, if you have Build Smart Previews turned on, it will make previews that you can actually edit, even if you're not connected to your server, which is nice. The only thing that you can't do is you can't export. So you can't send it to Photoshop, and you can't export it as like a JPEG or something like that for printing. Don't import suspected duplicates. So that would be if you've got, just like I showed before. Here, I've got a bunch of things in lesson 2, or from lesson 3, I should say, and so that's why it's set up here. I have to admit that when I uncheck this box, if I want to import some things in, older versions of Lightroom haven't worked terribly well, but this is working, so that's kind of nice to see in this newer version of Lightroom. So we're going to go back to the card, see how I flipped over here, and make a second copy too. This is for backups. If you've got a backup server and you can toss everything in there, that's really handy. Add to collection, especially lately with the Lightroom mobile stuff, which works off of collections that can be synced through the Creative Cloud. This might come in handy for later on if people are into mobile stuff. I'm going to close file handling and take a look at file renaming. Whoops, I seem to have lost some of my photos here. I'm just going to quickly click on 4 and select some. Excellent. So, file renaming. Let's talk about that. We have the rename files thing window. If you want to change the files when they're being copied in, if you don't like your file being called img_0383.cr2, then you can change it. You can change it to say hallway. You'll notice here the template picks a whole bunch of different things. So the custom name hallway that I just put in there would be X of Y. I'm importing in 4, so it would be 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, and 4 of 4. The original file number, so it would put in IMG 0380. So you see 0380 right here. And custom name sequence is the one that I definitely use. That counts up from 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you've already imported in 4 photos, you can tell it to start at 5. And there's a whole bunch of other different ones that you can do, including going to the edit menu, and it has a whole bunch of different ways that you can change these. Alright, custom name sequence, definitely my favorite. I start at 1. Good. Down here you'll notice the sample. It shows what it's going to be called. Please notice that if you say custom or hallway in the custom name, hallway 1, then what happens is it's got hallway 1, which is what I have up here, and then it says -1, and then it'll go -2, -3, -4, etc. Please notice it's also telling me it's going to convert it to a DNG. If I said copy, it would keep it as the original raw file, CR2. If you want to change that, you can have your extensions as lowercase, uppercase, or just leave it as it is. And since it's the next day, I've done a little costume change, and I want to quickly go back to the custom text, take out the hallway 1. So therefore, it's going to go hallway 1, hallway 2, hallway 3, hallway 4. Okay, closing file renaming. Apply during import. Basically, the apply during import section is anything that you want to do to the picture as it's coming in. This is actually super cool. You can do things like make them all black and white, a whole bunch of these different presets. You can add different color presets and creative presets. You can do all sorts of things to your pictures. I have a user preset, which I call Color Punch, which changes it from a regular raw file, which is kind of toned down and that kind of thing, and this bumps it up, sort of like it looks like a JPEG. It punches the colors, adds a little saturation, reduces the clarity, that kind of thing. This is made by myself. over here and put into the user presets, which is really nice. Okay, you can add metadata to this. So I have my own personal metadata in here, which means that I add that in for pictures that I want. It's the information that comes along with the file, like who took it. I can put in my photography business, anything like that. You can add in all sorts of different data and such. All right, keywords. Well, I'm going to say hallway and our school, which is BCHS. Any other keywords that I might want. This is my son's, so I'm going to put in his name. And I'm also going to put the fact that this is a grade 9 project. So there we go. Those are all the keywords that we might want. Close. The destination. The destination is exactly what it sounds like. That is where all the pictures are going to go when you copy them over. So a lot of the time you're going to be copying them onto your Google Drive, into your Comtech folder, Photography 2, etc. You'll weave your way to wherever it is that you want. In this particular case, we're going to go to the desktop and pick Lightroom 2015, and you'll notice I'll talk about the subfolder in a second. I just turned that off. And we're going to go to Lesson 2, and see how this is highlighted here? Here are the folders in here. I'm going to turn the subfolder on, and I'm going to change this to Import Example. All right. And you'll notice here it's got the little plus sign. That means it's going to be creating a folder called Import Example. All right, pretty simple. Let me show you actually that you can also do this. I quickly go here. I grab. Oh, let's go back into lesson 1. I just grab lesson 1. I say I want this. You take it here and you drag and drop. Boom. There it is. It sets it up for you. Drag and drop works so nicely with Lightroom. I just love it. All right. So we're going to do lesson 2. Back to lesson 2 again. Drag and drop it. Puts it here. Here's my import example. Now, one last thing on destination. You'll notice I have into one folder. You might have by date. And you will see that because I have these 4 selected, it takes a look at the dates that those were created, 2017, and I'm not sure of the actual date. I can't read it here. It doesn't matter. And basically, it's putting it in there, sorting it by date. So, oh, there it is, September 16th. All right, so you can do that. It's entirely up to you how you want to organize your pictures. I personally like into one subfolder, and each time I just change the name of the subfolder to match what it is that I'm doing, like the client's name or whatever, something like that. It really is your own personal preference. Okay, last thing in importing. Import presets. All of the settings that we have done here can be done with pretty much one little preset. Save current settings as new preset. Import example. Whoops, got to spell import correctly. Import example. I hit create, and now all of these things that I have set are saved. So the next time I want to import, I can pick import example. Here, let me just switch it. Here's my iPhone stuff. See how it changes right here. Okay, my destination goes into the pictures, etc. But then I say, no, I want the import example back. Boom. There it is. All of the settings that we have, that we've talked about, that we've done. That is so nice. So pretty much, I use presets, like basically I set this once the way that I like it, and then I get a preset, I pull up the preset. I change the name of what I'm doing. So, like, wedding or whatever the name of the people are who are having the wedding, and I change the subfolder. And it's really those are the only two things that I change once I've selected the preset that I want. Okay, we got hallway. We have import example. It's going into lesson 2. I have all my keywords and everything like that. Awesome. Let's hit import. And it's copying and importing the photos. You will notice that it automatically takes you to previous import. It is only showing you the 4 photos that you've done. If you want to see all of your pictures, you'll need to click on all photographs up here. The other thing too is that it takes a while for it to convert to DNG. I would highly suggest that you don't quit while it's doing the converting. It also can be making previews. You can quit Lightroom during that time. And I'll show you a little bit later on how to make previews and smart previews. Okay, that's it for importing. 4 photos were converted to DNG.